Welcome to Men Must Scotland podcast.
It's a place that guys can go to like learn skills. This podcast is created and produced by Men Matter Scotland.
Welcome to the Men Matter Scotland podcast. We are Men Matter Scotland. We are a suicide prevention and mental health charity based here in Drumchapel, Glasgow. We are a safe space for men to come and get peer-to-peer support and a place for positive change. My name's Martin. I'm joined by my fellow co-host Greg. Greg, how are we?
I'm doing great, Martin. Thanks very much.
And we are delighted to have a guest here today. A very fine young man, Ryan McNairn. How are we doing, Ryan?
Good, mate. I'm glad to be here. Cheers.
Right, Ryan, this is the hardest part of any podcast. Who is Ryan McNairn?
It's a difficult question, isn't it?
That's why we get it first out.
I was actually, a few weeks ago, I was at an event and we were talking about how we always introduce ourselves as what we do rather than who we actually are, or my job title, but we don't actually talk about who we actually are. So I'm going to take a leaf out of that, and I'm not going to talk about my job and all that boring stuff. I'm going to say I'm Ryan, 27. I love the outdoors. I live with my girlfriend. I've got a niece and nephew. And I'm really happy with my life at the minute. Everything's going pretty well. I said I wouldn't talk about work, but I'm transitioning through leaving a job that I hated for 10 years. After 10 years, I've done it for 10 years, and now I'm going into a new life, and I'm just really looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to making the most of opportunities like this that come up, because stuff like this doesn't come up very often, especially if you don't actually go out there and try and make it happen. So that's who I am. I'm a hard-working, passionate person that just loves being Scottish, loves the outdoors, and is quite happy with his life at the minute and looking forward to the future.
Good, man. We'll come on to a lot of that stuff, but what we do usually as guys or in this life is we'll say, how you doing? And it'll be, fine. So how are you really, mate? That's what we always ask at Men Matter.
I'm really good. I had a wee bit of a dip the last week. I was at a christening last Sunday and I just bevied too much to about 6-7 in the morning, and it affected me for the full week, and it was a bit of a shock because I knew I was going to feel a bit rough and that, but because I really look after myself, I've no felt like that for a long time. And I think when you go so long with feeling good all the time, it hits you harder when you don't feel good. But apart from last week, I'm in a really good spot.
Good, man. What about you?
It's part of getting older, isn't it?
Definitely.
Trust me, the older you get, the harder it gets to recover.
A week's hangover, man.
You contemplate this a bit more.
He's a young buck compared to
I
us,
know.
Greg, mate.
I'm laughing at 27.
How are you, mate?
I'm good. Everything is going well at the minute. I am working as usual just now this week, but fitting everything else in. Being accountable, going to the gym, staying fit and doing all the things I need to do. So I'm interested to talk to Ryan today and find out a bit more about his life and what he's doing with his and how it affects him, and see if it correlates to anything I've experienced, because a lot of the time guys don't share their experiences at actual life, and that's what we'd like to do here on the podcast and at Men Matters. Get guys talking about the things that actually matter instead of just the usual rubbish you don't talk about.
Aye, or talk about getting mad with it all weekend. I think that's the normal thing to do. So, Ryan, we know who you are now. You didn't mention your work and all that, but we'll get on to all that. But there's a big reason you're here. We're sitting down to talk to you. This will be a lot about fitness, but I admire you for what you're doing. I can't imagine doing it. So what is it you're doing, and why did you pick Men Matter to do it for?
Cheers for that, mate. So what I'm doing is I'm running the West Highland Way.
Mentalist.
Which I walked it last year in 5 days. This time last year, actually. Around about this time last year. Done it over 5 days and I struggled. And I was just like, I'm going to run it. And then obviously, at first it was going to be like a personal challenge, and then I was like, I can do something better with this. So I was like, I'm going to raise some money. So I've done charity work in the past before. I've done stuff for Bipolar Scotland. But the reason I chose Men Matter is because you can see the work that you're actually doing, like in this community up here in Drumchapel, like you actually see it. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I just don't really like giving money to big, massive charity corporations, even though they're charities. It's a bit of a grey area, and this is a place that I seen what they'd done, and I was like, this is it. I want to, because you can see the impact it's having. It's not just like, I'm not going to bash any charities, but it's not just these big corporations. It's like when I first came here, I met someone, and it was the first conversation I had with someone that's came here, and the first thing he said to me was, this place saved my life. And I was like, that is powerful, man, because if this place can save one person's life, obviously it's done a lot more than that, but like, for me, my mission is like, if I can just help one person, that's me job done. My life's been worthwhile.
It's a good outlook, isn't it, mate? It's a lot of what we get in here as well, Greg, and we see guys like Greg come in here, get help, and then become one of the guys that gives out the help. So it is empowering hearing stuff like that, and we do. That's what we thrive on, isn't it?
I mean, everybody for any charity will tell you how they appreciate money, and money's always good for charities because it makes the wheels go round.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you're saying. I was kind of in the same position when I first came here as a member and transitioning into being a volunteer and stuff. It's the reason it got me so passionate was because you can see the work being done. You can get testimony from people that say they've done this and they've done that. I appreciate what you're saying. It's like, no, I wouldn't give to a big faceless charity, but to me it's faceless. It's like, it's a faceless entity. You might be giving money and it's doing some good, but you never see the benefit of it, really. It's like we're all exposed to adverts every day. Help this charity, help that charity, give £3 here, £2 there. Phone up and give your bank details, and it's like, but you would never know whether who it's helping, hearing them say thank you, all those kind of things you can get from Men Matter 1,000,000% and actually see the work that we do. So no, really appreciate your effort.
Right,
Cheers.
Ryan. So last year you walked it, this year you're running it. When are you doing it?
So I'm doing it over the 16th and 17th of June, but I'm actually starting it at 10 at night on the 15th.
Right.
So the first official day is the 16th. I'll get to Fort William on the 17th, but to make sure that I can actually do it within that time frame, I need to be running through the night from the 15th into the 16th. Wow. So I'll be leaving Mulgai about 10 at night. The plan's to get to Riverdenning for sunrise about 5 or 6, and then I'll run on to Bridge of Orchy, which is another 30 miles from Riverdenning, and then I'll stay there for the night, do the last 30 miles on the second day, and easy.
Are you looking forward to it?
Do you know what? I actually am. Like, I think there's a slight bit of, I wouldn't say dread, but obviously I'm scared. Like, it's a big deal. It's no just I'm not bashing a marathon. Like, obviously a marathon's a big deal, but that's something that you can just kind of wing it. You can't wing stuff like this. You can't wing running 59 miles with thousands of metres of elevation, different like terrains, changing weather. It's Scotland, do you know what I mean? Like, I'll have a rain jacket on, but I'd rather it was raining than it was sunny, because it's going to be mid-June. If it's a scorchery a day, I've not really done much training in the sun.
Yeah.
Because you can't, yeah, exactly, unless I went abroad and trained.
Or a treadmill and a sunbed.
Aye, so
get the sauna suit on.
Aye, so it's one of the ones that I am scared, but I'm buzzing to do it, and I'm buzzing to raise money as well, of course, and kind of push Men Matter out there a bit more. And I think doing something like this sets the example that whatever wee story you tell yourself in your head is nonsense. Like, if I can go out and do this, you can go out and do you can go out and do anything. You just need to have a bit of belief in yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's self-belief, self-confidence, self-worth, all that sort of thing. Some of the stuff we try to build guys back up in here, because we lose that bit of self-worth. We are negative about ourselves, negative about the world, and it feeds into how we think about ourselves. So are you going to be doing this all by yourself?
So I'm doing the full thing myself, but I've got a support team. I've got people meeting me at certain parts. Like, I'm definitely not doing it alone. Yeah. Like, I think a challenge like this, you need to have people run about you, even if they're supporting you from afar. You need that, because like my girlfriend, for example, she's going to be my support team. She's going to be driving and meeting me every like 10 miles with food, spare clothes, water, whatever I need. Just a bit of morale. But she's not just helped me on the day, she's helped me over the last 6, 7, 8 months, whatever it's been. Like when I've been busy, she's helped me prep meals and stuff like that. She's actually in the house now making me my pasta for tomorrow before going on a run, because I've been so busy the day. And it's like you need the kind of people around you, because you can't do these big challenges unless you've got like a good support network. And I suppose that's what we all need to thrive in life, is a good support network.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what we talk about. We try and become a support network for people and try and get them to build up. It's great you've got that partner there, you've got people around you that are willing to help. What does it look like then going through it? Because how many meals are you going to have? How many changes? How much rest are you going to get?
Well, this is it. It's there's only so much. Obviously, I've done a lot of training with my nutrition and stuff like that during it, but on the day, I'll just be eating as much as I can. I'll just be, because it gets to points where, I don't know if you've done much like endurance running, but you get your carb gels and stuff like that. Like, gets to a point where if you have one more of them, you're going to shit your pants. So it's like, it's trial and error. I've done a lot of training with different foods and stuff, but on the day, it's just going to be, I'm going to have meals prepped in the car. I'm going to have all my carb gels, all that kind of stuff. And I've done a lot of training with it, so that on the day, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'll have it all weighed out, because it's one of the things you don't want to mess about with, because it could write off the whole thing. Like, you eat something dodgy and you're wrote off. You can't run another 30 miles with like stomach cramps. Well, you can try if you're David Goggins or something like that.
Yeah, man, it is. He pushes it to the limit, and that is not us. Greg, you're into going to the gym, you're into working out. Meal prep is massive, isn't it?
Yeah. For anybody trying to actually do something on a regular basis, you've got to put the effort in pre-workout as much as post-workout, as much as during the workout. It all sort of comes hand in hand. A lot of people think it's just you go and turn up to the gym and the only bit you're actually doing that's hard is the bit at the gym, when it's not really. It's taking care of yourself before and after, and making sure that you're eating what you need to. It's like, as long as I get my protein and my calories, I don't really care about anything else. But it's been that accountability, and I think that's a big part of it for me that I notice about how my mental health attaches to my physical health. It's that being accountable in all aspects of it, not just the bits that you want to be. And when you do that and you do those wee bits, it sort of allows everything to fit into place and push on and do a bit more and get a bit stronger and be a bit harder and do that.
Yes, when recently I've tried to stop eating, I was getting to the point where I'd go round to the shop and buy a big bag of crisps at lunch. Needless, I didn't need it, but as soon as I stopped, I was like, why do I feel better during the day? And then you realise it's all these wee small changes that make the difference. It's not just one big massive thing, and that's the same for eating, life, everything. All the wee tiny changes really help. How about training gear and all that? The thing I'd worry about is nipple chafing on that, man.
I see. I've actually never had any issues with. It's weird. Like, I've not had any chafing or any blisters since I've been doing these runs. I don't know if maybe because I've been running doing this stupid shit for like a year now, from training for a marathon basically and then training to do this. It's been kind of like a year. So I feel like my legs, my body, it's used to it, which is obviously a positive. That's what you want. But no, like, this is something I'm a wee bit worried about on the day, because what if I do end up with blisters? Even though I've no had any in training, I'll be prepared regardless. But mentally, I've not really thought about blisters because I've not had any during training runs. So that could be something that really makes it a lot harder. But we'll see. No matter, regardless, I'll do it.
What do you think is going to be the harder bit, the physical fitness or the mental fitness for this?
I think definitely the mental. I think loneliness. Obviously, there's people meeting me along the way, but there's nobody meeting me for the first 30 miles running through the dark in a head torch.
Yeah.
That's going to be like that. That's obviously when I'm at my strongest and fittest and when I've got the most morale. So I think I'm glad that part is happening at the start, because I'll be able to deal with it a bit better. But like, there's going to be some probably pretty dark thoughts, like, because I've not really done much training in the dark either, because it's hard to work your life around running in the dark with a head torch when you've got a full-time job and stuff like that. You can't just get up in the middle of the night and, I mean, you could, but then that messes with everything else. So
Yeah, I think it is just pushing yourself, isn't it? I always find when I go running the first couple of minutes, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a struggle. But then once you get past that, it becomes enjoyable, because you are, really when you are running like that, you're only up against yourself. You're not up against anybody else. Even when I was doing the 5K, the park run, everybody's running the same race, but everybody's in different situations. So the person who finishes last might be the happiest there because they've completed something they never thought they could complete. The person that comes second might be gutted because they're not first. The person that finishes right in the middle might get a personal best. The person that doesn't get a better time than they did last week might think, oh, I can push on for next week and all that. So it's all different races for people, and it's different stages in your life, so just take it as it comes. What does the training look like then?
So tomorrow I've got, so now I'm into a kind of volume phase where I'm doing multiple runs back to back. So 2 weeks ago I done 2 half marathons back to back, but half marathon trail run, so no on the flat, like up the hills. Tomorrow so then last week was a bit of a taper back. Tomorrow and Thursday I'm doing 26 kilometres back to back. So I'm going from like Drimmen along up the Conic, along to Malarkey Bay kinda, and then back. So it's like 26k. I'm doing that Wednesday and then I'm doing it again Thursday, and it's just proving to myself and proving that my body can handle 2 days running. Because there's no point in being able to run 60 miles if the next day you're completely broken. So I've actually not got that much training left, to be honest. Like, I can't believe how fast it's came. So I've got that run Wednesday, Thursday, got a taper back next week, and the week after I'm doing 25 miles and then 20 miles the next day, and that's the training done. And it's came round rapid, man. I can't like it's actually 4 a month a day. I'll be in the trenches, as they say, probably crying.
How much are you eating just now to maintain this now? Because you don't mind me asking.
So I've not really been tracking my food because I kind of know what I'm doing, but 3,000 calories a day on kind of average, but during the bigger runs you're dipping into maybe 5,000 calories because you're burning so much energy, and it's not about running fast and hard and burning through calories. It's just because you're out there for 7 hours going at a slow pace, but it's just constantly moving, so you're constantly eating carb gels, squares bars, like dates, all these high carb, high sugar stuff. So it is quite enjoyable when you've got a day where you can eat like 5,000 calories. And my recovery meal so far, probably shouldn't say this, but for some of the bigger runs, I'll just get a pizza for takeaway, and the next day I'm sound. Like, it sorts you out.
I'm totally with you on that. I do that all the time. It's like,
after half an hour in the gym.
After leg day on a Wednesday, I justify a Domino's.
It's not quite the same thing, is it?
He comes in with a Subway and I'm like, how are you doing this, man?
It's like, I know I need to eat 3,000 calories a day. It's like, well, I've got enough.
Fit it into your budget.
I'm just high metabolism, it burns.
It's all about building good habits in it, because you could go into that and go, oh, do you know what, I'll take a day off for that, but you haven't. You've trained yourself to train the brain to work this way. It's critical, isn't it?
So you said that I never really missed any training, but last week, honestly, the first week where I missed all my training, I still got to gym a couple of times, but I just patched my runs. And because on the Sunday I was at a christening, I was on it till like 6 a.m, and then that whole week I just felt really down, and I'd not felt that for a long time. I started to really feel like a fraud, started to question myself, because it was the first week I'd started looking to get online clients for coaching as well. So I'm meant to be this mad guy that's running this big challenge. I'm messaging people, like, talking about how to improve themselves and how they need to up their standards and do this and that, and I'm lying on the couch like a fraud, like pure self-doubt, like massive self-doubt. And it just, obviously I know why I felt like that is because I had a heavy session, but it shouldn't it was mostly in my own head that whole week, like self-doubt, like who the fuck do I think I am coaching people? And then once I came to and I felt normal again, I was like, I'm the fucking man, like I'm doing this challenge, I can help these people change their lives, like I can help high caliber people as well, like I'm a high achieving person, but see when you've got that self-doubt, no matter what people say to you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you've achieved in that moment. Like when you feel like low and you're full of self-doubt and you've lost your confidence, it's like nothing can really bring that back apart from you dealing with that.
Yeah, it's when you get to that point, sometimes that's when you need to talk to someone, or you need to have that talk to yourself and look yourself in the mirror and say, look, I was doing really well. One wee blip doesn't define who you are. Let's get back up and go again. Is it just a case of getting back on it as soon as possible then?
I mean, I got back to it. So I spent the day on Monday, like rough as you do. But I even got out a walk Monday night, fresh air. I felt all right. And then the Tuesday, went to the gym. Wednesday, went to the gym, but I just never felt like back to normal. And no matter what I done, and I done a video about this the other day, it's like, no matter what you do, sometimes you're just going to feel like shit. It doesn't matter how you're eating, how much you're training. Obviously, these things make you feel a wee bit better, but sometimes you're just going to have periods where you just feel like shit and you feel down. And I'm not saying there's nothing you can do about it. Obviously, you can do things to help, but sometimes, no matter what you do, you're just going to feel a wee bit low. And I think sometimes you just need to sit with that and kind of appreciate it, that this is 1 week out of the last 6 months, because some people feel like that 1 week you've had for 20 years.
Yeah.
And you need to appreciate that and not be too hard on yourself, that 1 week is just a blip and you're lucky to be in that position that you only feel bad for a week.
It is just a wee dip or a wee period in your life where you think things aren't going well for me, but you can see how you can then get stuck in that rut if you don't do anything about it, if you don't speak to anyone about it. You're lucky you've got the support network behind you as well, where you can say, I'm not feeling too great this week. And I suppose that's where we come in, Greg, isn't it?
Well, exactly. You nearly hit the nail on the head there, because all the things that you mentioned about feeling and what's going on in your head and not being good, essentially, all the negative things that you spoke about there were all things that were going on in your head.
Aye.
It wasn't, you never actually spoke about an outside influence that was dragging you down or making you feel bad, job, work, person, girlfriend, family. You never mentioned any of that. It was just everything you had was going on in your head, and it's like, we see it all the time here, and men talking to each other in any kind of format, whether it be your talking groups or just by the pool table or here in something like this, talking to your friends, your family, your loved ones. That's the thing that brings you to it. You get what you're saying about days and days. I just not feeling quite as if I'm not back to where I had to be after, whether it be a weekend long session or whatever it is you've had going on. But speaking to other people about it is what sort of drags you out that wee bit. I imagine it in my head. It's like filling in the hole. It's like when you've dug that hole of negative thought in your own mind, it's like the only way I can fill that hole is actually by letting all these words out my head and speaking to other people, and then start filling that hole back in again. And eventually you feel better after a few days and you're back into your routine, your good routine, carrying out your good behaviours that you're doing. So that's the way I see it.
It's that point where you get to where you start to beat yourself up and all that, and sometimes it just takes you going to somebody, I'm not having a good day, and they'll go, what's up? And you say, I was bevied and I missed my training. They'll go, but you've done so well. And then you just see, I have done well, I'm just being harsh on myself, and we're always our own harshest critics, aren't we? So before we move any further forward, we'll mention it now, we'll mention it at the end, and we'll try and plug it as much. If people want to donate to you, Ryan, how would they go about it?
So if people are willing to donate, there's a link in my bio on my social media. My social medias, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok there. It's at RRM Coaching. Or if you type in Ryan McNairn, it should come up on Instagram as well. So if you go to there, click the link in my bio, and then donate to my GoFundMe.
Cool, man. We'll get the links up and we'll put it on Facebook and all that as well.
Happy days.
So you spoke a lot about feeling like a fraud when you're trying to teach people how to be better about themselves. So you said you're going through a bit of a transition work-wise. Do you want to explain what that is you do just now and then what you're getting into?
So the last 10 years I've been in the Navy, Royal Navy, as a chef. Spent a lot of time away. I joined when I was 17. I'm now 27. And the last couple of years, I've kind of hated it and I couldn't wait to leave. But before that, it was brilliant. Like, I joined when I was 17. All my mates were at college or working, and I was like at sea, going around the world, like going to Dubai and places like this. I was like, this is amazing. And it's definitely like shaped me into who I am today. Like the discipline, the standards, the respect, all that kind of stuff. Like that stemmed from being in the military, because it's a massive thing of you respect people. If you told to be somewhere at a certain time, you're there. Like you're basically working and living with people that you can rely on. And I feel like in society, in Civvy Street we call it, it's not really like that, which is something that I'll definitely miss, that camaraderie, the community. But I really enjoyed being in the Navy when I first joined. I was 17, I was young, free, single, no responsibilities. It was brilliant, getting paid like 1,300 quid a month at 17. It was like, wow, this is amazing. Had nothing to spend it on apart from a phone bill. So obviously, as you can imagine, what do you do at 17, 18? A lot of boozing and stuff like that, as we all do at that age. But I'm glad the last couple of years I've really wanted to leave, but I've been tied into a 3-year contract that I took. So I'm leaving in 3 weeks now, going into the fitness industry. I've just done my PT course, so I'm going from working for like the government, a massive corporation, to self-employed, which I'm really looking forward to. I want to get out of that working for the man, working for the big bad Tory government and go and do my own thing. But I want to change. My 10 years in the Navy, it's taught me so much, man. Like the amount of bad shit that I've been through, like months away from home, extended on deployment. You think you're going home and then you get told, oh, we're out here for another 2 weeks or a month, and like just really hard times that most people could never even imagine. Like times at sea, I'm a chef as well, so you get a lot of shit if you're no good at your job. It's probably the most important job in the Navy as well, because that's ship's morale, innit? Yeah. Like if the food's no good, then people will tell you. But I'm looking forward to just transition out of that. You learn a lot in the military: discipline, respect, integrity. These are all things that are drilled into you from day one, and it's stuff that I've kind of pushed through my whole life. And when I go into start my own business and PT and coaching, stuff like that, that's the stuff I want to instill in people as well, because I think respect's a massive one. We live in a society now where people don't really respect each other anymore. Like people speak to each other like shit, and there's just no really any need for it. But I'm looking forward to leaving it and getting my freedom back. And after I've got over 1,000 sea days, so that's over 3 years spent at sea, which is 3 years that I've not been at home. But being away from home makes you realise how good Scotland actually is, and how lucky. I feel so lucky to be from here and live from here. Like there is a few negatives to Scottish culture, which we'll probably talk about soon, but Scotland in general, like the people, the beauty of it all, the weather's no the best, but it's no the worst. And I think being away from home makes you appreciate home and the people around about you. But I'm looking forward to kind of putting that chapter behind. I feel like I joined the Navy as a boy, I left as a man, I'm now going self-employed. I'm going to be coaching people with fitness, nutrition, all this kind of stuff, and I feel like the Navy's helped me become the person I am, so I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I suppose you learn so much and all that resilience you've built up and all that, and you can take that into teaching people how to, coach them and how to do that themselves. How much of a change is it going to be? Do you think all those things you learn about will help you in your own business? Because you spoke about respect and how maybe people don't respect each other, but I think if people respected themselves more, then it helps them to build them up. Is that something you're going to look to build up in people?
Aye, definitely. That's something that I've been working on it myself for years. So I've got a coach myself. Started training with him coming up for 2 years ago, and we spoke about this. I think it was last week. How, like you just said there, people don't really respect themselves, or not even respect. People aren't very kind to themselves, and I've been working on that for years. Like, I've achieved all these things and all that, but it's like, right, what's next? What's next?
Rather than giving yourself credit for it.
I could have done that faster. I could have done that better. I could have done that in less time. And it's like, it is really hard to give yourself credit sometimes, and that's something that I have been working on for years, and I probably will be for the rest of my life. But like you said there, everyone does need to be a bit kinder to themselves, because we're our own worst critics. And like we were talking about last week, I was so negative towards myself, and when you get in your own head, it's hard to get out of it. And it doesn't matter what people, how, like, someone can give you all these positive comments and be nice to you, but you're like, I don't really care, I don't believe you, and you still have a lot of self-doubt. So I think that's something I definitely want to push with clients and friends and everyone, is just be a bit kinder to yourself. Like, celebrate all the wee small wins. If you got to the gym today, that's a win.
Yeah.
But I've got to the point now where I'm like, oh, I've only went to the fucking gym 4 times. I was meant to go 5. Like, that's just looking at the negatives, man. And sometimes it's hard not to look at the negatives, because that's, what is it? Humans actively look for the bad stuff in life instead of celebrating the good stuff.
Yeah, it's all about acceptance and resistance in it. If something makes us feel uncomfortable, or we think, oh, I'm not going to like that, we'll resist it, rather than just, if you learn to accept it, then it's easier to take the challenge on. And resilience is a massive thing. You've learned that in the Navy, but you're going to need a hell of a lot of that pushing through those 2 nights, aren't you?
Aye, massively. I think the Navy will probably help in a way with this challenge, because I have been in a lot of situations that's needed a lot of resilience. Like, I done the Edinburgh Marathon last year as well, and I never trained enough, and that's probably one of the hardest things I've done, because I never trained enough. So the last 10, 12k I had to walk it, and that is really when you start to doubt yourself, because in my head I was going to do it in 4 hours, and it took me 5.5. And that was really humbling. Like, I needed that, because it's like, you think you're better than what you are, and you need to. I missed a couple of big runs, to be fair. I missed the big runs because I was doing the West Island Way, walking it. So maybe that was a sign that I was probably doing too much stuff at the same time, and my body wasn't ready for it, but I just done it anyway. But resilience it's massive, and I'm going to need a lot of it for this challenge. And I think resilience is probably one of the things nowadays is that most people are actually lacking in, because I think
a lot of the time we self-sabotage though.
Yeah,
that's what I was taking for that there, because like, I've done it myself. Is like, you set yourself these goals, but in your mind you're telling yourself, oh, I can do that 5 times this week, but you've not actually thought, can I really, or put any time to it. But subconsciously you've said I can do it 5, knowing you're only going to do 4, so that you then feel shit about only doing 4, and before you know it, you're then having to reset yourself to go on and get back to where I was. But if you take it right back to the beginning of the story, it's about being accountable for yourself and planning your actions out, what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and sticking to it. It's when you start to do that wee bit of letting go and be like, okay, it's fine, I can do that. Or you get too overconfident and you think, oh, I don't need to track my calories or do this, even though you know you should be, and you just get complacent, and then next thing you know, you're falling below your own standards, and dead easy to slip into that vicious circle of blaming yourself for no meeting your own targets, and it just goes round and round and round and round.
We see it a lot in here, don't we, Greg, that maybe some people think they don't have a lot of resilience, but then when we flip the mirror on them and go, but you're struggling and you're getting up every day and you're doing it, you're not giving up, you're coming in here, or you're going out and you're trying to make things happen. It's just sometimes people get so lost in that self-doubt that we start to struggle to see the positives, don't we? And we just need to go, look, we are here, but you're the one that got yourself here. You're the one that came here, and you just need to show people maybe we are a bit more resilient than we give ourselves credit for sometimes, don't we?
Definitely.
Aye, I think that's a good way. I've never really looked at it that way. I think sometimes I look at the world and I think you just need to get a grip of sometimes, and I know that's not the right way. That's something I'm working on as well. Like sometimes it's hard to look past. It's hard to look at people and think of what might be going on elsewhere. It's too easy just to make that initial assumption and think you're just lazy. You just don't care. You just don't want to do it. When deep down they've got so much other stuff going on in their life that's the last thing that they're even thinking about.
Because we see it a lot, we're told to man up, or we're told to get a grip, or if you see a football game, the team will say, sort it. What do these things mean? They don't really mean anything. You're not giving MD any solutions or any constructive feedback. It's all just words that we've heard people use before. But Greg, you do a lot of big shifts and you do a lot of training as well, but it's just about getting yourself into those good habits, and once you get yourself into the good habits, it becomes easier. Yeah. But at the other side of it, it's easier to get yourself into the bad habits, but as soon as you break that and you start to do the good stuff right, makes things easier, doesn't it?
Definitely. I mean, one of the mantras that I try and live by is to do something that's hard every day. Now, instead, a lot of people associate the word hard with being something negative or bad or whatever, but for me it's about something hard that's to do with the gym or weights or going for a run or a walk. It's just doing that thing that you don't want to do, but even though it's something you don't want to do, it's actually really good for you. It's what makes it work. It's what makes you accountable. You feel better after you sit down later at the end of the day and go, I'm glad I've done that.
Yeah.
You've done something hard and it might be hurt and you might have sore legs or arms or whatever it is, but you always feel better in your mind. Well, I do personally anyway, compared to not doing it, whatever it was I was supposed to do, and then sitting at night feeling like shit because I could have done that.
Yeah.
I think
held myself accountable.
I think it's a good way to look at it. And I've been doing this for years. It's like at night I might say I sit and watch telly for a couple of hours, but I've done enough stuff during the day that I feel I've earned that, and I'm the kind of person that I don't really like to chill out unless I've earned it. In a way, sometimes that could probably come back to bite me a wee bit, because if you've had a shit day, then you don't need to necessarily go out and do something that's going to fuck you over so that you can chill out at night. But I think, like you say, it's good to do hard. The more hard stuff you do, the easier your life becomes. It is really that simple. Like, the more time you spend being uncomfortable, whether that's, for some people that might be just going a walk outside because they're so anxious that they're trapped inside, but that's a win, and you need to look at that as a win. And some people might not think that's a big deal, but to them, that's your marathon. Them going out a 5-minute walk around the block is your marathon.
Definitely. It's not just like physical tasks, and that's the thing that I try and stress to a lot of the guys we speak to here. It's like, it's doing that thing that makes you uncomfortable. It's making that phone call to the doctor. It's phoning up whoever you need to phone up at the council. It's doing that uncomfortable task that you've just went, I'll just put it at the back of my mind. But when you face these things and do it, the mental health benefit you get out of it, it's like running a marathon, it's like doing this, and it could be a tiny wee task to what it might be any of us three, but something major to somebody else. But it's as long as mentally you're pushing yourself to do that wee uncomfortable thing, because the sense of achievement you get from it pays you back instantly and 10 times fold, and then it sets you up for the next day going, well, if I did that yesterday, then I can do that tomorrow.
Aye,
or I'll give that a try. But just avoiding it doesn't get you anywhere.
No, and it could even just be going back to as simple as getting out of bed in the morning, 1-0 to you in it. Once you do that, brush your teeth, 2-0, add up these wee wins, and then if something goes wrong during the day, you say, I've still done all these positive things to get myself to this point. One small thing's not going to set me back the whole way. So Ryan, if people were coming up to you and saying, I need you to coach me, what would you look to do for them?
I think a lot of people talk about a training plan, a diet plan, this, but I think most people just need what I would call as an MOT of their life and their routine. Like, send me what you do from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed, and what's your habits like within that for 14 hours, however long. What time do you get up? What's the first thing you do? Is the first thing you do go on your phone and then have a coffee, or do you get up, go a 10-minute walk, get some fresh air, come in, drink some water, Like, it's people's routines are what defines who they are. If your routine is shit, then your training will be shit. Your nutrition's not going to be good. Like, people, I'm not going to, what is it, that Molly May quote, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to say that when you analyse someone's life and their lifestyle and their routines, you get back hours that you never thought you had. Like, you don't need to watch the telly for 3 hours a night. You don't need to sit on your phone for 6 hours a day. Like, but make small changes at a time, because a lot of people will watch a video of someone's rock solid routines and they'll totally change it from their pretty bad routine to this rock solid routine, and then they last one day and then they get annoyed and they're like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'll just go back to normal. Like, you need to make small changes that it's as if you won't even notice you've made a change, and then over time, like, these habits build. There's a good book, Atomic Habits. I don't know.
It's brilliant.
Really good. That was one of the first. So I only started reading again like in the last couple of years when I really started trying to make my life a bit better. I never read a book from school until like 18 months ago. When my coach, when I signed up with him, he sent me a welcome pack with a book, Atomic Habits. And since then, it's been like try to read as much as possible, try to educate myself, and I think that's what people need to do more of. Like, the amount you can take away from just a book that you're into, rather than watching Instagram. Well, I mean, I put videos out there, so still watch Instagram. But I mean, don't get all your information from social media. Like, read a book from someone that's got 40 years experience in that subject, and they've actually wrote a book and published it, and millions of people have read it. That's where you should be getting your literature from, and that's where you learn from.
So do you not think that's like part of the problem though? Because I'm just going by my experience. No, that I don't read books, but like that. I've got a PT, right? So I go to him twice a week. I have been for the last 2 years, and we're in this WhatsApp group chat with all the other clients in the PT group. So I see things like reading a book. I think that's the kind of that hard mental battle that people would put off if it was about health and fitness, because I could go through our list of our WhatsApp group and tell you that one's trying, that one's no put on or got better or fitter, and in 2 years that I've been doing it. But it's just because they're not being accountable for doing the hard bit. Because a lot of people really want to mentally face up to that, reading that book and going, it is me that's wrong. It is me that needs to. And I think in the new world where it's easier just to pick up your phone and scroll through Instagram or TikTok for 4 hours and avoid the mental fight in your head, it's facing that mirror into it and saying, it's me, I need to change this, I need to stop doing that. But to a lot of people, they would think reading a book is a hard thing. That's a waste of time, it's going to take forever, it's going to be boring. And I think that's a lot of social attitude, but people carry that into all aspects of their life, and it's because of the social media world we live in. But books are such powerful things. I've been reading more as I'm getting older and older and older now. And I think to myself, why was I not doing this in my 20s though? But you're a young guy in your 20s, and I think most people in their 20s nowadays don't read books or have never read an actual physical book in their life, and they're missing out on so much. But it all boils back to that being accountable and facing up to the hard bits. And when you're doing that in your life and you're facing up to the hardness to try and make it better, then it carries you so much further than it does when you're hiding for it.
Aye, defo, because when it comes to reading books, it's one of the things that I really need to push myself to do it.
It's hard because we struggle to concentrate anymore because we're so used to short things on our phone, wee videos, even reading an article sometimes. I'm like 2 paragraphs and I thought, this is too long, man. It's just the way we've trained ourselves, but you can retrain yourself to go and read books again, and like audio books and all that as well, so there's always ways around it, isn't there?
I think nowadays with the invention of Uber Eats, stuff like this where you get stuff instantly, like you can be sitting in your house and you've got a chippy on your lap 30 minutes later. People want stuff yesterday, do you know what I mean? Like Amazon Prime, stuff like that, where people now think that you can get, because you can get most stuff in life at the click of a fingers, they think that you can transform your life in a click of the fingers. And I think that's a lot of where your diet culture comes from, where you have your 2 shakes a day and stuff like that, or Weight Watchers, all that kind of stuff. It's built on people wanting a quick fix, but that quick fix, you might lose that weight quickly, but you've no learned how to keep it off. So you put it back on. Like, that's how Weight Watchers model works.
Yeah.
It's return clients. So they get people skinny and then they fatten them up again, and then they get them skinny again. And it's like these shake diets now. I had some guy fucking for Herbalife messaging me on Instagram. He's like, would you like to join us and all that? I'm like, mate, fuck off, man, with your shakes. But I mean, it works for some people, don't get me wrong. Sorry if people have
I don't know any it works for. I've not seen
Herbalife, but my ideology is, if you're replacing something with actual food, then it's no building a good relationship with food. Simple as that. End of story. Obviously, some people might need to take supplements for certain illnesses and stuff like that, or dietary requirements, but you don't need to be cutting out your 2 meals and having a shake. That's ridiculous. But these companies are amazing at advertising. They convince people that this is what you need. Like, no, you just need to start eating a bit better. And if you want to learn how to eat better, give me a shout.
Go see Ryan. I remember somebody told me, like, the secret is there's no secret. It's patience and consistency. If you can be consistent, work out, eat well, do all the right things, and that works for everything. If you're consistently negative, you're going to feel negative. If you're consistently positive, you're going to feel positive. So it all goes hand in hand.
I'm a weight loss person's nightmare, and they hate it, and I just like turn around and deadpan them every time, and I go, just eat less. It's like calorie deficit is not that hard to understand. It's like,
Nah, it's no.
see if you want to lose weight, stop eating so much, and it will happen. It's
It's
you eat enough to survive, but just stop eating. And
scientifically, it's so simple, but because of how complex society is now, it's like,
yeah.
it's
It's
hard to get it
excuses
across.
though. There's always
Aye,
an
it is.
excuse for everybody. It's like, oh, this is why I'm big boned, or it's
Oh,
my metabolism, or they always want to blame somebody else, and that's where the way I just come across it from a weight loss perspective. But
Aye, definitely.
I've been trying to put on for 2 years, but this is what I've tried to communicate. All the overweight people that I've spoken to the last couple of years, it's like, I face the same fight you do. I just do it for an opposite viewpoint.
Aye.
I've climbed on the scales and felt like utter shit because there's no been weight put on, and they stand on the scales and feel crap because they've put on a couple of pounds, and it's like, it's the same thing. We're both having the same feelings about feeling crap, and we've maybe not trained as good, or we've not done what we're supposed to, but we're mirroring each other in the exact same way. You're just you've actually got it easier, because you need to shut your mouth and stop eating.
If only it was that simple, eh?
Few people getting raging at you, Gregor. I wish I was.
There's a long list of them. There's a long list.
But before we get too far into the bro science, we'll bring it back to the West Highland way, Ryan. I think it's remarkable what you're doing. It's inspirational. Wish you the best of luck. To be honest, I can't imagine doing it, but it's going to take a lot. How big a challenge is this going to be for yourself?
Oh, without a doubt, the hardest thing I'm not saying I'll ever do in my life, but definitely the hardest thing I've going to have done so far. Like, I don't think it's even really sunk in how mad it is that I'm running it.
Yeah.
Because it was only a year ago I walked it in 5 days and I was struggled, but I know I can do it. Like, I've trained for it, I've dedicated a lot of time to it, but I think it's probably not going to hit me how hard it is until I'm like 45 miles in on day one, and I'm like, my legs are screaming, and will definitely be tears, I can guarantee it, because when I done Tindrum, Rower Den into Tindrum, I was planning on getting the train back, and again, ego got the better of me. I'll do it in 6 hours, I'll make a train, and I ended up taking 7.5. I had to phone my missus to come and pick me up, and I had tears in my eyes because of how much pain I was in. I felt like a failure, even though I'd just done the biggest run of my life. Well, no biggest run, but the hardest run by far. I still felt like a failure because I've never done it in 6 hours. So that's one thing I've learned, is when you're doing big challenges like this, take the time away from it, because it's not about the time. The fact that I'm doing it, it doesn't really matter how long it takes. Like, I think you can get caught up in your own head with, I could have done that a bit faster. Like, mate, you just ran 24 miles with 1,000 metres of elevation in the pissing rain. Like, give yourself a pat in the back.
That's it. It's something we don't do enough of, is giving ourselves a pat in the back. Ryan, thanks very much for coming in, and a massive thanks for choosing Men Matter Scotland to raise money for. We are inspired by you. We're very grateful. We wish you all the best, and we hope you enjoy it, if that's the right word. But
thank you,
we
mate.
will get you back on when you've done it to see how you get on and see
Aye.
how you done. So do you want to remind the people how they can keep a track of you? Are you going to be doing any videos during that or anything like that?
Aye, well, we're actually going to make a wee mini documentary.
Good man.
Documentary film type thing. My brother, he done filmmaking at college, so he's going to come along with my girlfriend and he's going to film the whole thing and put together a documentary film type thing, just to, because like this is one of these things that years down the line my grandkids can watch when I've done something like this, and it's there for life. Like, I've done it, it's there for life to watch back years to inspire people and stuff like that. So on social media it's at RRM Coaching, or you can type in Ryan McNairn on Instagram, click the link in my bio and then click the link to donate to Men Matter.
Good
That's
man.
us.
Thanks very much, and Ryan will raise lots of money, hopefully, if you were kind enough to donate. I'll be donating, Greg. Hopefully you'll be donating. And mate, we will see you on the other side. Thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers for having
you.
me. It's been a pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers, Ryan.
And thanks very much for watching and listening. Thanks very much to Greg for joining me as well, of course. If you ever are struggling, if you're having a bad time of it and need to talk to somebody, please reach out and come to us at Men Matter Scotland. We can be contacted on our website, on Facebook, or you can phone the hub here. The number will be there. It's 0141 944 7900. Please don't suffer in silence. Please reach out to somebody, and thank you for watching and listening.
It's a place that guys can go to like learn skills.